Some disasters aren't caused by storms, or bad luck, or acts of God. They're caused by one thing: a coward in charge. Today, two captains, 2 centuries apart, both trusted with hundreds of lives. Both ran. One abandoned 147 people on a raft in the open ocean. The other fled his own sinking ship with thousands still on board. And trust me, both of these stories are absolutely insane. Story 1. France, 1816. The Raft of the Medusa. It's 1816, and France is handing one of its finest warships, the frigate Medusa, to a man named Hugues de Chaumareix. There's just one tiny problem. He hasn't sailed a ship in 25 years. He didn't earn this command. He got it through royal connections. Bro literally networked his way onto the ocean. 400 people board the Medusa. Soldiers, settlers, whole families, all heading to Senegal to start new lives. They look at the gold trim on his uniform and think, this man clearly knows what he's doing.
The ship's experienced officers offer advice about the dangerous African coast. He waves them away. Why listen to experts when you have confidence?
The Medusa races ahead of its convoy, showing off its speed. On deck, the passengers cheer. Things are going pretty good for Captain Connection, but this ship is racing straight toward one of the most feared sandbanks in the Atlantic. And the only man who can steer her away has absolutely no idea what he's doing. The water changes color. The veteran sailors go pale. They know exactly what that means. An officer runs to the captain, begging him to change course. Chaumareix refuses. Minutes later, the entire ship shudders to a halt. The Medusa has slammed into the Arguin sandbank, 60 kilometers from shore, stuck fast, in hostile waters. Just like that. And here's where a real captain takes charge. Chaumareix does the opposite. He panics.
The ship can still be saved. Dump the heavy cannons, lighten the load, float free on the next tide.
The officers beg him. He refuses. Those cannons are government property, and he is not getting in trouble over paperwork. Days pass. Storms hammer the stranded ship. The hull begins to crack. Now there's no choice left. Abandoned ship. 400 people. Boats the barely 250. So they build a raft out of the ship's own timbers. 20 meters long. They pack 147 people onto it. The raft rides so low that everyone stands waist deep in the sea. But there's a plan. The lifeboats will tow them to shore. The captain? Oh, he takes one of the best boats for himself. Cowards first. The convoy sets off. Tow ropes stretched between the boats and the raft. 147 people, trusting those ropes with their lives. But within the first hours, someone in those boats makes a decision that will echo through history. The ropes are cut.
One by one, the boats slice their tow lines and sail away. The people on the raft watch the boats shrink into the horizon.
A pathetic sight. No sails, no oars, no charts. A few barrels of wine and almost no food. In the middle of the open Atlantic. Night 1. A storm hits. Waves sweep across the raft. By morning, dozens of people are simply gone. Night 2. Panic and madness spread. Fights break out over the last of the wine. The raft becomes a floating nightmare. Day 4. Fewer than half remain. And what happens on that raft in the days that follow, France will never be able to unsee it. Let's just say, when the report finally reached Paris, officials tried to bury it. It was that bad. Day 13. A sail appears on the horizon. The Argus. The men left on the raft can barely lift their arms to wave. Of the 147 people abandoned on that raft, 15 are still alive. 5 more die within days. The rest carry the story home to France.
And Chaumareix? His boat reached shore safely. Every single coward in those lifeboats made it out just fine. But 2 survivors, a doctor and an engineer, write down everything. Their book explodes across Europe. France demands justice. The captain who doomed his own people is dragged before a court-martial. The verdict? Guilty. The sentence? 3 years. 3 years. For 132 lives lost, 3 years in a comfortable cell. A lawyer? What lawyer? He had connections, remember? But history has a longer memory than any court. A painter named Jericho turns the raft into a monumental painting, the Raft of the Medusa. It hangs in the Louvre to this day. Chomarez spends his final years despised, in a village where no one will speak to him. The coward got 3 years. The painting got eternity. But if you think that's the worst captain in history, wait until you meet the man Italy calls Captain Coward. Story 2. Italy, 2012.
The Costa Concordia. It's January 13th, 2012, and the Costa Concordia is the pride of Italy. A floating city 13 decks tall, with 4,229 people on board. At the helm, Captain Francesco Schettino, tanned, confident, always camera ready. Passengers line up to take photos with him. He's basically a celebrity in a white uniform. Families board for a week in the Mediterranean. Kids race down the corridors. Champagne glasses clink. It's dinner time. The dining hall glows. 4,000 people feel completely, perfectly safe. And why wouldn't they? State-of-the-art ship. The company's star captain, right? Well, tonight, Captain Schettino is in the mood to show off. As the Concordia passes the island of Giglio, he decides to perform a salute, swinging the giant ship close to shore so the islanders can admire her. He's done it before. It looks fantastic on camera. What could possibly go wrong? He takes the ship off its programmed course. Closer. Closer. The navigation screens flash warning. But tonight, he's steering by eye, in the dark, and he's about to turn this floating palace into a trap. 9:45 p.m. A rock rips a 70-meter gash along the hull. The whole ship lurches sideways. In the dining hall, plates fly off the tables. The lights flicker and die. 4,000 people are plunged into darkness. Seawater floods the engine rooms. The ship starts to tilt. And on the bridge, silent. Now. This is the moment a captain earns his uniform. Sound the alarm. Launch the evacuation. Every minute counts. Schettino does none of it. Instead, the loudspeakers tell 4,000 people, "It's just an electrical problem. Please return to your cabins." Return to your cabins? On a sinking ship? Passengers phone their families in a panic. Some obey and go back inside. And the ship keeps tilting. For over an hour, Schettino delays the evacuation order because admitting the emergency means admitting what he did. When the abandoned ship alarm finally sounds, the Concordia is leaning so hard that half the lifeboats can't even be lowered. Chaos. Crowds crush toward the boats. Crew members, many with zero emergency training, improvise everything. Passengers haul each other across the tilted decks. Strangers carry strangers. The passengers act like a crew because the crew has no captain. And where exactly is Captain Schettino? Because at some point, before the evacuation is even finished, the captain leaves his ship. Hundreds of people are still on board, climbing through dark, flooding corridors. Their captain watches from a lifeboat. He'll later claim he tripped and fell into the lifeboat. Bro tripped into safety. Sure. On shore, the Coast Guard realizes the captain is no longer on board. Officer Gregorio De Falco gets him on the radio.
What happens next becomes one of the most famous phone calls in Italian history. De Falco roars the order. Vada a bordo! Get back on board! Climb back up and tell us how many people are still trapped. Schettino refuses. It's dark. The ship is tilting. He's coordinating better from the boat, you see. Falco keeps roaring. An entire nation will soon listen to a Coast Guard officer trying to shame a captain back onto his own ship. It doesn't work. All night, helicopters and divers pull people from the wreck. Ordinary crew members go back inside, again and again. By morning, the Concordia lies on her side against the island. A ship the size of a city, resting on the rocks. 32 people never made it home. Among the last recovered, a passenger who had given his life jacket to someone else. Italy erupts. Vada a bordo! Get back on board. Appears on t-shirts, murals, banners. A nation's fury in 3 words. Schettino goes on television to explain himself. It goes about as well as you'd expect. In court, he blames the helmsman, he blames the company, he blames the rocks. Everyone but the man in the mirror. The verdict? 16 years. For the wreck, for the lives lost, and for abandoning his passenger. Salvaging the Concordia costs over $1 billion, the most expensive operation in maritime history. The ship is cut apart for scrap. And Francesco Schettino enters history under the only title he ever truly earned. Captain Coward. Two captains, 2 centuries apart. The exact same fatal flaw. Chaumaret had connections instead of skill. Schettino had ego instead of courage. And other people paid the price for both. Because here is the thing about command. The uniform doesn't make you a leader. The moment of crisis does. And when their moment came, they ran. Subscribe for more true stories history tried to bury.